Okay, there's something they want to say here outside of the astrology. I think with Venus and Libra, this is coming up because of being reminded of, Venus, where people think of the feminine, or Libra. There's more of like a divine feminine kind of an energy here. One thing that they do want to mention is that there's a lot of people out there that tend to talk about the divine feminine, and they want you to recognize that it is about the balance between both. And they're hitting this, I think, because of this Libra energy as well. This isn't about this transit, this is just a general thing. But they're wanting to mention this. So it is not specifically about just the divine feminine or just the divine masculine. It is about the balance that exists between both. It is the requirement of both, the balance of both, that one is not inherently better. Excuse me, so when I burp, when that happens, it's usually them saying pay attention to this. One is not inherently better than the other. Okay, they are different, yes, but different does not mean a comparison of one is better than the other, or greater than or less than. Different just means different, and they are powerful in their own unique ways through that difference. But they work together, drawing me to the sign of like the yin yang, where you have obviously the black and the white, but there's the two dots where they each have their own the opposite color in each other's kind of color. Basically, I'm not describing this very well, but you know what I mean. And they're saying they merge together, they cooperate together. It's the two differences that work together with their own unique qualities, doing their thing, but working together as one, they're able to achieve more in doing so, right? It's about that balance together. And they're saying this isn't about physical gender. This is the energetics behind it. They're saying you have both divine masculine and divine feminine energy within all of you. That's just what it is. Everybody has both. Okay, that's how this works. That's how that exists. It works like that. Okay, so, and they're also wanting to point out that you need to be careful of those that specifically focus. Okay, I'm going to hit on a point here in that if you look at the demographics of a lot of people who watch these kinds of videos, whether it's astrology or any spiritual stuff, they're typically women. Okay, typically women. And there are people out there that know and understand this. Okay? And through that, they will tend to try to manipulate women to take advantage of them. And again, they're reiterating that just because you are a woman or a biological female does not mean that you align only directly with the divine feminine. Remember, they're saying you contain both energies, divine masculine and divine feminine energy. And the key here is the balance between those two. Just because you are a woman, they're saying that yes, you can be feminine, you can be a woman, you can express all of that directly as it is. You need to be who you are, whatever that is. However, you are not just distinctly just the divine. When dealing with these spiritual energies as divine feminine, you are not just that. You are both divine feminine and divine masculine. Your soul, your energy, who you are, contains both, and that is necessary. You need that. That is a necessary thing in order for you to exist, function within the reality. Yes, as a physical biological woman, if that's who you are, to express that femininity and do whatever, then that's great. You do that thing. But what they're saying is that energetically, on a spiritual level, you contain both, and you need to be careful of those. They understand, they're saying that they understand that women and also feminine energy has been abused on this planet in a lot of very negative and bad ways. But they're saying it's about coming back into balance and honoring the positive aspects of divine masculine masculine, divine feminine, that kind of stuff, etc. Bringing them together and to focus more on a high vibrational level of these things instead of the abusive negative stuff, because they're also saying the divine feminine could also be used in a very negative, manipulative way. In fact, manipulation is a very negative, energetic feminine trait. Okay, that is not a masculine one. Masculine one is more outward focused, action taking, etc. Manipulation is more of a negative divine feminine trait. Okay, and there's a lot of that exists on this world too. So they're saying what we need is to bring it to a more positive, higher vibrational level of those both energies within balance. Okay, it's not about one is better than the other or bring one back or whatever. They're saying it's a complex mix of confusion that has been pushed upon a lot of people to believe in false things in order to manipulate in a lot of ways. So they're saying that the divine feminine has been used in a very negative way as well, that specific side of that energy. But they're saying what we need to come back to is the balance, a positive balance between both. Okay? Now, they're also saying this as a warning for those that are maybe trying to either push misinformation or misunderstandings that exist out there, in that if somebody is solely focused on the divine feminine and are specifically addressing biological women themselves as divine feminine, they're saying, which you are not. Everybody contains both. Even men have divine feminine energy, even if they fully express as something that is masculine. Okay, they're saying this isn't about any like LGBTQ issues or gender identity. They understand this is that is a touchy subject. This isn't. They're saying this is a spiritual thing. This is how the universe functions on this spiritual level. We are not talking about that kind of stuff, but they're also saying that it is okay to be that way as well. There is nothing wrong with you being gay, trans, bi, all that stuff, whatever. But that is not the subject of this conversation, is what they're putting that to. They just want to bring that up because they understand that people may look at this and think, well, you're gay, Mark, so you're just making it seem like that. They're saying, no, that is not it. That isn't. They're not talking about LGBTQ stuff right now. That is a completely different topic altogether. Right now, they're specifically just talking about what they're saying is actually women being targeted. So they're bringing it back to the fact that because women tend to be the ones that watch a lot of these videos, they are directly being targeted or manipulated into believing certain things surrounding specifically the divine feminine, because they know that that women, as well as that feminine energy, has been misused and abused on this planet. And so they're manipulating the fact that those women are trying to empower themselves now, and instead they're fake empowering them by putting this explicit focus solely only on the divine feminine energy in order to manipulate them to be able to take their money, take their whatever, do all of these things. And if you look at some of these accounts that do this, they're usually men, heterosexual men, that will be talking about divine feminine energy to get a lot of women or female followers, because they know that women watch these videos in order to manipulate, take advantage of them, or for sexual things, favors, to get these beautiful women to follow them, etc., all of that. They're also bringing it up to this point to me to say this now, is that I'm gay. I don't want anything to do with what's between your legs or on your chest or whatever, okay? I don't like that. I like men, okay? So they're saying that that's why they're bringing this warning through me. Guys, what do you... Is because it might be taken a lot better if it comes from someone that's not interested in you. Do I really put this out there? I don't know. But that's what they're... Okay, anyway. Do you want me to say anything more about this? Hey, they're saying yes. okay, so they're saying that they want, okay, they're kind of making it like this. They're saying that women have typically, for the most part, supported gay men, and gays usually typically support women. So this, they're kind of, they're using this to their, in a way to kind of like, it's in a way to kind of balance it out, to give thanks back for the support that a lot of physical women have done, maybe specifically towards me, but also like other gay men and stuff as well, to help in that supportive figure, to try to be like, hey girl, look, you need to watch out for these dudes that are out there that could be trying to take advantage of you in this way. They're also saying to also not take my word for it directly, in a sense that question everything that you come across, including my own stuff. Okay, question it. Seriously, actually question it. Question the validity of what people actually post on the internet, whether it's mine, whether it's somebody else's. They're going back to the divine feminine thing. If you see a specific male figure that is strongly focused on the divine feminine, putting it up on a pedestal and constantly saying, yes, 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 and they've got all these women following after them, don't you think that that could be a bit of a red flag? You know what I'm saying? So they're saying, because of that, actually take a hard look and learn to question things. Question, and understand what could be the motive behind doing these kinds of things. And even though I'm laughing and being slightly embarrassed by the reason why maybe they're putting this through me, using me in the way is like, well, you're gay, so we're gonna do this. But they're being very blunt and straightforward with their reason why, so that when people do question, it's like, well, okay, that definitely could be it, or whatever. But they're saying that yes, you can still continue to question this more, and they will answer your questions if you have questions. But they're kind of saying, okay, we're basically done now. We just wanted to have that explanation. But basically, yeah, it's just, what it basically boils down to is use your own discernment and be understanding, look at things objectively. Don't just give in because, you know, obviously you're a woman, you want to support women, feminine energy, that kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. Because, you know, that stuff has been treated like shit in the past. We all know that, even in our recent past, as little as 30 to 40 years ago. And even now, there's a lot of women that don't get treated properly. Okay? And that there's reason why people would want to stand up for that kind of thing, whether it's women or divine feminine, that kind of stuff. But they're saying with the spiritual energies, focus on the positive aspects of both, not just the one. But they're saying that the reason why you'd want to stand up for that kind of thing is also, you know, a good way for people to manipulate and take advantage for someone that's trying to do a good cause, right? They're manipulating and taking advantage of your heart, of that desire for that good cause, in order to just then continue to take advantage of you in much the same way that has already been going on, right? So just be mindful of that and always use your own discernment and question. Always question, always ask the questions. Why? What is it doing? What could be the purpose for this? What is the reason behind this? Okay, so just understand and use that as a warning. And they're saying that in a lot of ways the same could be, they're saying this doesn't really happen, but it could be the exact opposite towards men as well. There could be women out there, or even, let's say, a gay man who is, let's say, wanting more men on their channel, and they specifically start talking about, oh, the divine masculine, and you're so great, and like all of these things, when it's like, okay, no. Right? It's about both, and you can't just, they're saying energetically or spiritual in a way, you can't necessarily have one without the other. They're saying you can, but it's like but what it boils down to is everybody has both. No matter how you break things down, on a soul level in who you are as an individual being, you have both. It's like that, for whatever reason, that's how this works. In some way. They're kind of bringing it up into like quantum physics or quantum like this aspect of quantum entanglement. It's like your soul is like the superposition which contains both polarities exist at the same time, right? Because in quantum, in quantum entanglement, if you have two different particles that are quantumly entangled, if you observe the system as a whole, it exists within a superposition, which means that you can have both, let's say it's just the particle, you can have both, you see both positive, and they can exist as both positive and negative at the same time. Whereas if you observe them individually, even though they're entangled, if you observe one, automatically both shift into their own polarity, as in one is positive, one turns negative, right? Even just from viewing the one. Okay, that's that aspect of quantum entanglement. You're going to look that up for more. But they're saying that quantum physics, we don't understand it to the full extent of which we should, but they're saying what science has observed, they're saying that a lot of the observations are correct, but our understandings are still, the word they're using is severely limited in terms of that understanding. But they're saying that yes, it does relate to that quantum physics element, in that your soul, when viewed as the one, is as in essence that superposition where it has both polarities that exist at the same time. Okay, and that's how it just, I'm not going to get further into this because it's not really for this video, and it can get into very complex scientific things. But yeah, now that I've discussed that, they're saying that they want to bring this message through just to make people aware, and they're ultimately saying that there's a lot of misinformation out there, but what they're saying to do is to question everything that you see, question the validity of everything you see, including even my own stuff. They're saying question the validity of everything, because that is the only way you're going to get to the truth and find the correct answer.